So now that you know a little bit about layers, let's bring in some photos. Now when you are on a layer, when you pull something in from another page, it's going to go directly above that layer that you have selected. So for instance, we have the background layer selected right now. If we were to go to File and Place and find a photo, so it will go over the top of that background layer, but it will go underneath the green circle. So if you go get your Move tool and you click, see how it selects that top one? Or you can select the one below. When you hover over the top of something, if you do have the auto select layer, the show bounding box, and the show highlight on rollover all checked, that will show you what you will be selecting. I suggest you turn those on, especially when you're a beginner, so that it's much easier for you to get around. Now if we were to add text to this, let's just get our text tool and click one time, and I'm just going to type Aspen, and then I click on the check mark. Notice how it goes above the layer that I just had selected. So it is above the photo, but it's behind the actual green circle. You can move it above if you want to by just dragging it and dropping it with your mouse. You're left clicking on the mouse key and moving it that way. Now if I want this picture to be on the top, I just drag it and drop it above. See, now it's covering everything up. I can shrink this photo by taking it from one of the corners, making it a little bit smaller. Click on the check mark to commit current operation. Now remember, we can take the opacity down on those layers. So if I click on here, take the opacity down of my photo, it will really lighten that photo, make it almost transparent the further down you go with that. So know that you can kind of play around with that as well. Now you can also add masking and creating groups. We're going to talk about that in the advanced area. Group creation of layers is a new thing to version 15. So if you are working in version 14, you will not have those groupings. These are really nice when you have a lot of text and a lot of photos. Just getting started, you probably don't need to know about the grouping, and you don't have to run out and buy version 15. Just because you have version 14 doesn't mean that you can't do digital scrapbooking. But for those of you who are used to Photoshop, this grouping of layers, I kind of call them folders, is really a nice addition to version 15. But we will get into that in our advanced classes. Another thing too is you can lock layers. So see right here, it looks like a little locking symbol. If you click on the locking symbol, that means that you can't move that until you unlock it. You can't move that layer. So if you ever lock something, you don't realize you locked it and you try to grab onto it and you try to move it, see how I'm trying to move the word Aspen? It won't let me because it's locked. But we can unlock that by just clicking on it again and then unlocking it. You can also merge layers together. So if I wanted to merge maybe this circle and this photo together, I could then hold my control key down, select both of those, and either link or merge them together. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to choose merge layers now that they're going to become one layer. And you won't see the circle on there. It's really odd, but it will be there after you click and drag it. Now it shows up, but now these two are together on one layer. I normally don't merge layers because I like to keep them separate, but sometime in the future you might need to. You can also merge down. So if you're at the very top layer and you want to merge down, you can right click and choose. Well, maybe it doesn't let me merge down. Oh, I know why. It won't let me merge down, I believe, because this is text. I could be wrong, but let's just right click on it. And I'm going to simplify that layer. I'm kind of getting into the advanced stuff. And now let's see if it will let me merge it. So I'm going to right click again on that top layer, and now it lets me merge down. The reason it didn't let me merge down before is because text is not really considered an object, it's text. So until you simplify that, then it's not really mergeable, I guess. So I guess that's the best way I can tell you. Another thing that you can do, if you didn't want this background to be white, you can go get your paint bucket tool, click on that, and see the color that you have in the foreground right now? That's the color that it would be if you click. So we don't want it to be that color. We want to change that. So I'm going to click on the foreground color. I'm going to choose maybe a color from my actual photo, and then let's click again, and that will fill it to that color. Just wanted to let you know you don't have to go with white. You can always fill it with something else. There are also pattern fills. You can kind of play around with these. There's funky ones in here, but check those out. Maybe you want to pattern fill it with something different. Let's try these bubbles and see what you think. If you zoom in really close, there's a bunch of bubbles in there. So you don't have to fill it with a solid color, but a lot of times that's usually what I do. Go back to my solid color, fill it. Now here's the thing, it has that pattern in there already, so it filled within those little areas that I clicked. So see how I'm clicking here? So if you want to go back to the solid again, what you could do is you could drag this and drop it to the trash can, and then add another layer, move it to the bottom, go back and then fill it with a solid, but make sure you're on the paint bucket right down here and not the pattern fill. If you want to add a stroke to a photo, I already talked to you about this in earlier segments, but let's just go ahead and add another photo in here. Let's just place this photo here while we're talking about layers, because it's layer styles. I'm going to shrink it down just a bit. Now look what happened. This is all getting all finagly. I don't know if that's a word, but I like to use finagly because I don't have the constrained proportions checked. So let's go with check and then Control Z to undo. Let's bring that back in. So I'm going to place that photo in here. Now I click on constrain proportions before I make any kind of changes because I don't want it to get finagly, right? So let's just check mark it. I'm going to drag and drop this to the top. And if I wanted to add like a drop shadow or a stroke around there, remember we can always go to layer, layer style, style settings. Here's all of our fun things. Drop shadows. You have the ability to change it, the opacity, the size, the distance, the angles, and so on and so forth. Let's just bring this down. You can put a bevel on that. Let's just kind of put a cool bevel. It makes it look more 3D. And then here's your stroke. You can make it thick, make it thin. You can make it a different color. Let's just go with green. Okay it. You can go on the outside, inside, or center. So play around with all of this. Get used to these layers. They will make your life so much easier. And you can also rotate this. Remember, you can turn layers on and off if you don't want some certain ones to print. And you can also lock them and change the opacity. And you can trash them if you don't need them. Thanks so much for watching this quick snippet taken from inside of the Photo Editing and DigiScrap Academy. If you would like to see more of these short videos, be sure to check out the various ways you can get in touch with us. I believe they are going to be listed right here. So hit that pause button and jot those down. We do have a private Facebook group that I would love for you to join. And we do put a lot of different videos up there, and also share lots of different things in the digital scrapbook world. So I'm Michelle Stelling from the National Association of Digital Scrapbookers, and thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.